My knees hurt enough every time try to restart my strength training program and causes me to have to recover, and then I feel discouraged. Any suggestions on how I can try to approach this differently so I can stick with it? Hi, I'm Deborah Atkinson. You're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top struggles and concerns, and I share what to eat, how to move, and how to change your mindset so that you can have the energy and the vitality that you want, need, and deserve in this second and better half. And today, this is a very short episode getting back to some of the Ask the Menopause Fitness Expert questions posed by our listeners and or readers depending on where they are. And if you've got a question, by the way, you can add that to our Facebook group. It's Flipping 50 Insiders, Flipping 50 Insiders, and that's a free and open to the public for all of our podcast listeners, Flipping 50 TV episode viewers, binge watchers, and our YouTube subscribers, where you can gather. And actually, that's where we gather all of your questions. So you'll get support from each other, knowing it's a place where other women in menopause are and where myself and other coaches in the Flipping 50 community will help you sort out answers to the questions that you've got. So I'm going to dive into this question right now. And again, it starts my knees hurt enough every time I try to restart my strength training program that it causes me to have to recover and I feel discouraged. So, what are my suggestions? And here's where I'm going to dive in. First of all, let's get to the root of the problem because pain for anybody is discouraging, but pain is also a message. So, we want to figure out what is causing it. So I really need to know more. So if this is your question, dear listener out there on a walk or a commute, I would need to know more from you too. So without having a two-way street of conversation, here's where I'm going to dig in. My first question would be, do you have arthritis? Or do you have bone on bone that is tested and proven from an MRI? Do we need some form adjustments, some better technique strategies? And are you doing everything that you can to help yourself? And here's where I would start. So, omega 3 is known to turn off inflammation. So, what I would do is suggest really for most women over 50 in menopause, we've all got some inflammation. We all should probably be taking an omega 3. The way omega 3 fats and omega 6 fats work in foods, there are nearly no or next to one or two foods that are higher in omega 3 than omega 6. It's actually the reverse. And we need to reach a certain amount or ratio of omega 3 to omega 6 because if you think of it this way, omega 6 fats we need some, but they turn on inflammation. Omega 3 turns it off. Now, in partnership, that works. But if we've got more omega 6, like a significant amount more, we have more of that inflammation on constantly and we can't seem to get it turned off. So we need to, the majority of us, supplement with an omega 3 high quality supplement. So I would suggest maybe higher than what you're used to seeing on the bottle, which is about 1,000 milligrams. However, you also have to be a savvy label reader and make sure that you know you're turning that bottle around and reading the other parts of the omega 3s. So you want to make sure that it's high quality in two specific omega 3s, not the other, which is just filler. So I would consider and have for myself when I'm dealing with times in my life where I've got higher inflammation. For me, it's not been knee pain or arthritis or soreness, but it has been I'm turning it on myself, doing some additional training. So at that point, I'm taking 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day, morning, noon, and night. And that might be something you want to look at is if you're not taking any, start. If you are taking some, look at do you want to consider increasing that amount? Otherwise, eliminate inflammatory foods, dairy, processed foods, grains, sugar, including alcohol. And if you do have arthritis, removing nightshade vegetables, which tend to be your peppers, your eggplant, your potatoes, and your tomatoes. And also, eggs can be an inflammatory food. If you have not done, because this is one of our Flipping 50 members. If you haven't done the February 2020 challenge, I encourage you to go there because it'll be super helpful and it'll guide you through how you remove, reintroduce, and test. Another question I've asked earlier is, do you need technique changes? Are you doing the exercises, but perhaps not doing them with the best technique, and you're not even aware? So there are videos in our membership for how to do lunges, how to do squats, and you'll be able to find some in my Flipping 50 TV channel on YouTube as well if you're not a member. Another question I've got for you is, do you have good shoes? So remember that your shoes, your feet, and that platform you're standing on are very important to the kinetic chain upstairs. So it's your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, your lower back, and they all will come back to what is that platform. So if you're due for a good pair of shoes or some with better support, important thing to consider. Do you avoid standing with your knees locked normally and avoid long periods of time standing, especially on a concrete, tile, cement floor? Are you moving regularly? So, if you do have arthritis or you don't, lubricating joints and moving frequently is very important. And a second part of that is being well hydrated. So, that synovial fluid between your joints needs hydration and movement regularly essentially greases the joints for you. And if you find it uncomfortable to move more, the place where you might want to be is in the water. You can swim if you do, but if you're not a swimmer, don't worry because standing and or walking in water that is between navel and nipple depth is ideal. So your lungs are not submerged, but enough of you is submerged. We're taking some weight off of those joints that are uncomfortable. Being there where you can move more freely, pain-free, can actually help lubricate those joints with that synovial fluid. Biking is another option. You'll have to try a bike. So I'm talking stationary bike. Obviously, if we don't know you're stable on a bike and able to do it pain free, don't go outside where you're a little bit more at risk, but get on a stationary bicycle or your bicycle on a trainer indoors temporarily. Not every pair of knees is put together the same way. Some people can bicycle when they have knee pain doing other activities and they're fine. Others cannot. You also might want to play with an upright bike versus a recumbent bike and see if you can find a difference in your preference and comfort level. When you say, my knees hurt, ask yourself these questions and see if you can pinpoint where you can help yourself do everything possible. And in the case of being bone on bone, if you know that's the definitive answer and yes, an MRI has confirmed it, it's often a matter of deciding what is your next step and when will you take that when your life is compromised. Because it's often if you're trying to get by, trying not to do that for a long period of time, you're potentially compromising your gait, which means other parts of you are getting compromised and you're beginning to favor that painful side. And that can be a real problem for the rest of your body as well. So if you've got a question, I'd love you to add it. You can either join the Facebook group at Flipping 50 Insiders or ask it here or underneath any podcast and let me know how you heard of us and whether you're a regular listener. You'll find the podcast at flipping50.com/podcast. And what are you waiting for? Let's start Flipping 50 today.